Go Blue Wolverine Nation. This is the Michigan Wolverines Call-in Show. Uh, I got Ferris here with me, and how you doing, Ferris? What's up, man?
Doing great. It's just, we're 6 months away from the game. It's 6 months from the game. This is supposed to be like the doldrums, but things are heating up like crazy everywhere. So there's so much to talk about.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I think obviously we have the portal season just ended. Well, kind of. I mean, Michigan's still apparently uncovering some stones, kicking some tires there. Hopefully we'll have some more news on that next week. But with the new breaking news with the NCAA now settling with the Power Five conferences to now pay players. What are your thoughts on that, man? What do you think that means for college football?
All right. So we've seen this kind of writing on the wall. We had a little period of like total Wild West, do whatever you want kind of concept. Lots to the ESPN article. I did post the article. So for those of you who haven't seen, you can click on it and take a look, but keep listening to us though. At a very high level, the very first question is, okay, we talked about this before, these are now employees. So are they students and employees? How does that actually work? Another element of this ESPN article is, are we going to save non-revenue sports? Is that part of this deal or not? I know TJ, you might have some thoughts on that, but I'll just kind of leave it out there that, that's kind of an open question with respect to this. And also, are the Michigans and Ohio States going to have to share to a certain extent with the second and third team kind of, players both within, or the teams both within the Big Ten conference, but also other conferences like, let's say, the MAC and things like that. So lots of open questions with respect to this. But the bottom line is we're headed toward a whole new world, and it looks like it's going to happen fast. And players are going to get paid. I think almost everyone who's on this live stream are totally for that. But maybe there's going to be some level of organization and some level of kind of involvement at a higher level that will make this at least somewhat of a level playing field. Although while I say that, I'm just wondering, does Michigan actually want a level playing field? Maybe not. So anyway, those are my initial thoughts with respect to this. Go ahead.
What do you mean by a level? You mean like a level playing field in the sense of like an Indiana on the same level as a Michigan, or?
Yeah, I mean, so there's two ways to look at it. Like you look at the teams that are kind of second tier below Michigan, but then you also look at the $1 billion booster or $1 billion, whatevers that are in other maybe SEC schools, et cetera. And Michigan isn't playing that game, so maybe we do want to get level on that side too. So.
Yeah, I mean, well, so the thing is, right, so looking into the article, for those who haven't read the article, what has essentially happened is the NCAA has come to a $2.7 billion settlement with current and, former players, right? So this is going to go back. This is damages. They're going to pay damages over 10 years, dating back to 2016, right? So, I mean, that actually doesn't even equate to 10 years. I don't know, but apparently they're dating it back to 2016, that payers will be able to be paid with the damages of $2.7 billion. Some players from reading, the early reports is some will get thousands and some will get hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's what we're getting. And then that also brings us to every team in the Power Five now has the ability to pay their current athletes a share of the revenue up to $20 million hard cap. Okay. Now, what we do not know is that strictly revenue sports like basketball and football, or does that include non-revenue sports, and to what extent? When I was reading the article, they talked about Title IX, but what I've when I've listened to lawyers discuss this for some years now, and they talked about how Title IX is not actually relevant in this because players are being paid revenue from a revenue perspective, where Title IX sports are not typically generating revenue for the university. So the argument can be had that Title IX should not actually fall into this. Now, listen, I'm not a legal expert. I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out over the next few months. We should get a little more clarity. But what's big for me, at least, is I hope it's strictly for revenue sports. I do not understand why sports that are not revenue generating would share revenue. That makes no sense to me. So we'll see how universities handle it. Some universities will not be able to do $20 million. Like, for example, in the Big Ten, we have the largest TV contract. The Big Ten will be comfortable, but I'd be interested to see, does every Big Ten school hit the $20 million cap? Because I'm not so sure they all will. And I will say teams, and believe it or not, they're including the Pac-12. So this includes Oregon State and Washington State. So Washington State, for those who don't know, their athletic program is in dire debt. So it'd be really interesting to see how much they're willing to pay their athletes. But and then on top of this, there's also apparently a mechanism that's going to be put in place to limit third-party collectives from paying players, and they're trying to reel in the NIL landscape. Now, what does that mean? I don't know, because we only have they didn't elaborate on it. So very interesting. Ferris, did you have any more takes on it before we take our first caller?
Well, I mean, our buddy, I use that term loosely. Peter Thamel was Pete Thamel was one of the co-authors of the article that I posted there. So, or that that I posted that you're referencing. So,
the good man, Pete Thamel, right?
Yeah. So this came out an hour and a half ago. It is really cool to have this live stream right after this news comes out. Hopefully for a lot of you, this is the first time you're kind of hearing about this. This appears to be really a breakthrough moment in college sports. Lots of details. That whole Title IX thing is very interesting to me, because if you asked me earlier today, I would have said that, I don't know how women's field hockey or Olympic sports, things like that. I don't know exactly if they will survive. We are moving to what used to be more of like a socialist kind of world to a pure capitalist world. And, a lot of these sports might get cut, but it seems like they've figured out or they're thinking of a way to include other sports and include Title IX within this.
Maybe.
It's not confirmed. That's the key word, maybe. Right. So
yeah. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I hear you. I have some takes on what it means for Michigan, but I want to start getting to some of our callers. We have a show. We'll get to it, I'm sure. So first up is Big Moose. What's up, buddy? Are you there?
First up is can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's up,
yep,
man?
We can hear you.
Am I too loud or am I good?
Oh, you're perfect.
No, you're good.
So I have a few things to talk about. As far as that, pretty much what I said earlier with with that ruling. I think I'm for it. Like I said, I'm for it, but I think that it needs to be balanced out, because TJ, that teams like Texas and those really rich teams are going to really take advantage of that opportunity. So, and I think it's going to make the whole landscape a little unfair, in my opinion.
Well, so
but I'm for it,
the point of the ruling is to make it more fair, because now there's a hard cap, right? So Michigan has 20 million, Texas has 20 million. Like
there's a cap now?
Yeah, it's a hard cap. It's a hard cap. It's like NHL hard cap. You cannot go over it. It's not like a baseball hard, like soft ass. There is no cap in baseball, or an NBA soft cap. It's a hard.
I'm all for it.
So,
yeah, I'm all for it then. Yeah.
Right. But the question for me is, because I'm gonna be very honest here, 20 million is enough for the football team. like that, because
Right.
that's where we are. The tier 1 NIL programs in college football are in that 15 to 20 plus million. Now, I'm not going to say it's like 25, 30 million. I've heard those numbers. I've never had those numbers truly confirmed to me. But I do know 15 to 20 is a range the tier 1 programs are operating in. Michigan, as for those who are unaware, are in the low 10s right now. They have tripled their NIL budget from last year. So obviously they're evolving, they're growing. That's good. Now, how much is going to be allocated to football? And let's be real too, the basketball program is going to need some love as well. But I'll get some clarity right now on that too. So the elite tier 1 basketball programs in college basketball are spending anywhere from $2 million to $6 million on their roster. That's the range. That's what a tier 1 program is operating in. From my understanding, actually, I currently I don't know what Michigan's budget is since Dusty May has come in and really hit the donors hard. I do know he secured a large donor, a multi-million-dollar donor about 3 weeks ago. And that's one of a few who are willing to donate to the basketball program specifically. So Dusty May is putting in work, but how much money is going to be allocated to the basketball program? I don't know. I'd like to see personally. I mean, I'd like to see about
more football.
Yeah, of course. I would like to see probably a 15-5 split between basketball and football.
Yeah, that sounds about right for me.
And then how much this is not. See, here's the thing too. In my opinion, this is not going to kill collectives. There is still going to be dirty play. Now, apparently, they're saying there's going to be mechanisms put in place where there won't be, but my confidence in the NCAA regulating that is not high.
Yeah, I mean, if a player wants to work with a local business, car dealership, whatever, in addition to this, what's going to stop them from doing that? You know what I mean?
Right.
So
they won't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those will still be alive and well. So hopefully Michigan's collectives continue. I'll be honest too, guys, like what this means to me, just early, like thoughts on how it's in my opinion, the price is going to go up, bro, because now there's more money in the market. If all these teams,
I wasn't thinking about the whole landscape. I was just thinking about football. So yeah, that is going to be pretty interesting how it's going to be split.
I'm talking about even just football though. If you have 60 Power 5 teams now with a $20 million cap, now every school's not going to do the 20. They're not. They can't afford it. Like when the guys in the ACC, the teams in the ACC, what are they making? Like $35 million a year on their TV contract. So like they're not going to be able to do the $20 million cap. I mean, unless they have. I mean, I know Florida State's going to try, right? But I don't know if any ACC school is going to be able to do it because they're only getting $35 million in TV revenue. They might. We'll see. We'll see what teams are able to do that, and if it becomes public, which it should, because it's a public university. But I'm just saying, like in the football landscape, the fact that anywhere from 10 to 20 million dollars is going to per school in Power 5 football is going to be pumped into the NIL market economy. The price is going to go up. Like players are going to be more expensive now. Okay, like that's just basic economics. Like the more money in a market, so that'll be interesting to see. But I will say this though, and I'll let you hit on a Moose or Fair. Sometimes I'm kind of running here with it. This is a positive for Michigan. Michigan now has zero excuse to not pay high school recruits because it's now legal. It's open season, boys.
It's definitely positive for us. But you know what we're going to have to do, right? Before the start, we're going to have to get rid of Ord Manuel. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's not going to. I mean, the reality is it's not happening unless a Dusty Mayer Sharon fails or something egregious happens, and but we don't want that. That'd be bad. Anything egregious that's like we can't even predict, like something out of left field. There's no way Ward's going to be here, and his tenure is going to depend on the two coaches he's hired this season. Now, I don't know. Did you catch the show last night, Moose, or no?
Uh, I believe I did.
Well, okay. Well, I hit on I talked about like Ward and like the expectation in terms of like, look,
Yeah.
if the coaches are if Dusty's successful and Sharon's successful and the resources are given to them to succeed, I mean, what can, I mean, you can't listen. I'm not a pro Ward guy. I'm very critical of Ward, but like if he gives them the resources to succeed and the programs are succeeding at an elite level, what more? I mean, what more could we ask for? As long as he does his damn job, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, quick note on Ward Manuel. He did keep. I mean, you can say Harbaugh had his salary cut in half, but think back to what life was like in 2020 in the beginning of COVID and the disastrous season that Michigan had. He did keep Harbaugh. He deserves credit for that. He did bring in a coach that for basketball now that is a I think universally, at least initially, people are thinking this is a positive with May. And he's the one who hired Sharon Moore. So you would need to judge him on results. And, for now, I'm with you, TJ. You may not like his style. You might think that it's been very abrasive with Harbaugh, which it definitely has. But, the bottom line is, did he make the right hires? Well, those two big hires just happened. So let's see what happens with basketball and football. And he deserves at least partial, maybe even more than partial credit for keeping Harbaugh as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with. I mean, Moose, what's your take, man?
On Ward.
Yeah, sure. And then actually, let's dive into what you want to talk about because we got a bunch of callers on the line.
Okay. Well, I do have a lot to talk about when it comes to OVs for Michigan for the month of June.
All right,
I'm
let's
just
go
going to
there.
try to go through them as quick as I can.
Okay.
And I would like to know your opinion too, TJ, on it. I'll go through the first week, the second, third, and then the fourth.
Right. All right.
Okay, May 31st. May 31st, five-star wide receiver Derek Meadows is visiting Michigan.
Mhm.
Four-star edge Marco Jones is visiting Michigan. And four-star safety Kanoa Winston is joining Michigan. Now, I have my percentages on my opinion of what I think Michigan has at landing these, and I want to know what your opinion is, TJ. For Derek Meadows, I have 33%. For Marco Jones, I have 50%. And Kanoa Winston, I have 60%.
Wait, you said 15% for Marco Jones?
Yeah, 50%.
50 or 15?
50.
Okay, yeah, I'm cool with that. Yeah, Marco Jones, we're in the game. Yeah, he's I actually think I think it's us and USC for Marco Jones. I'm very high on Marco Jones. And then who are the other two you mentioned? Moose. We lose you.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Who are the other two outside of Marco Jones?
I had a five-star wide receiver Derek Meadows, and I gave him a 33% chance. And then I had four-star safety.
All right, let's do one at a time, man. Let's do one at a time. So Derek Meadows, dude, I'm gonna be real with you. That's not trending well. That's a Notre Dame like heavy lean. I'm not optimistic about it.
Yeah.
Me and you were talking about the Bishop Gorman boys earlier today. Douglas Utu is out of all the Bishop Gorman guys, Douglas Utu, offensive lineman. Out of all of them, he's the one I feel best that Michigan's best in position for, and I do think can land. Alatofilu or whatever however his name's pronounced. He's a Polynesian. I like him as well, but I need to see what happens on the official visit for us to get excited about it or optimistic about it because he has other schools in his ear right now. And then you had one more guy who was the safety from
Kanoa Winston.
Yeah, dude. Listen, that's a three-way battle right now between us, Penn State, and North Carolina. What was your percentage on that?
60%.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd put it at about
It's
40
opinion
right now.
based. It might not be
Yeah,
accurate,
I'd
but
put it at
that's
like
my
40.
opinion.
I'd put it at 40. I mean, listen, he's interested, but my concern's Penn State, man. You know,
Right.
if I had to name a favorite for him right now, it'd be Penn State. But again, like OV's changed the game, man. Like that's the beautiful
Right.
thing about official visit season is like a kid could come here and we could be the leader just like that. So that's why right now it's extremely critical. And official visits start what, next weekend?
Yeah. So June 7th, we have 4-star running back Jordan Davison, and I know we probably don't have much chance. I gave him a 25% chance of us landing him.
Yeah, that's OSU.
And then
That's the different matter there,
4-star
right?
running back Iverson Howard. I think we have a 100% chance of getting him, but what you know how me and you talked about that. I think we won't end up getting him though.
I'd be willing to bet he cancels his official visit. Let's just say that.
That's
I'd
what
be
I'm
willing
thinking
to.
also.
I'd be willing to bet you. I'd be willing to bet you like $10, man. If you want to take it.
All right, June 14th is 5-star offensive tackle Andrew Babaloa. I gave Michigan a 70% chance. I really think we got a shot with this guy.
I agree. We have a shot. I wouldn't put it at 70 though. I think it's too early to call it. Like he's not like that's a heavy lean, bro. You know what I mean? Like we have a shot. We're in the game.
I think it's between Michigan and Oklahoma, honestly.
Yeah, I would say Oklahoma and Auburn. And the reason why
Stanford
Auburn
might be in there too.
Well, you know, I don't know. I think Stanford's more of like a hat on the table type of situation where like it's just an academic school.
Academics. Yeah, they're not gonna get him from football alone. It's gonna be academic if he gets them.
Yeah, the sneaky school to watch in that is Missouri. Okay, their NIL, for anyone who's not familiar with Missouri's NIL game, it's elite. I mean, they're willing to put it. They're willing to. Price tag doesn't matter for Missouri. The recruiting rankings don't show
Missouri it. Also, he's from Missouri also. So that wouldn't surprise me.
Missouri is the sleeper I'd watch, but I would agree with you. Oklahoma and Auburn I would put ahead. But I mean, we're in the game though. Like we're very much in it. But it's a 5-star, and you just never know with NIL. But here's another thing too. Let me say this, Moose.
Go ahead.
So the revenue sharing that the NCAA just announced, that goes in effect for the 2025 class. So all of these kids that we're talking about right now, dude, that's a game changer. They could start. I don't know if they can necessarily negotiate with these kids and say, okay, we're willing to pay you this, this, and this, especially because it's so early. But
right.
That class is the one who's going to be impacted, and if anyone's going to benefit from that, it's a school like Michigan. But go on. What's your next guys?
4-star inside offensive lineman Kakadalewu. I can't spell his name very good. But he's a Bishop Morgan guy.
Yeah, there's three of them.
I give him an 80% chance.
No,
I think he's going to commit to Michigan.
Really? Okay.
You don't think so?
We disagree. No.
Okay.
Douglas Utu is the one.
Right, well,
out of all three of them, Douglas Utu is our best opportunity.
I thought Utu was the least likely to commit to Michigan because he was on Washington for a while, but now he's starting to come around.
It's been trending good since March for Utu.
The last one for June 14th is 4-star safety Jadon Blair, and I think we have a shot at this guy. I don't know if it's a real high shot, but I think it's between us and Penn State. I give us a 65% chance.
So here's the thing on Jadon Blair. Jadon Blair wants to go to Notre Dame, but Notre Dame has like 3 safeties already committed. So word is Michigan is a serious contender, and I actually think it's possible we lead. I actually think if you wanted to put like a 60-70% percentage on him, I would do it for Jadon Blair.
I believe you.
Yeah.
So June 21st has the most people. 4-star wide receiver Taz Williams Jr. I think he's 100% lock. I'm pretty sure you agree also.
Well, I don't want to say 100% lock, but we're definitely in a good position with him. But I mean, 100% lock is like it's recruiting, bro. Nothing's 100%. Not until signing day.
Right, that's true.
Well,
yeah, 95.
Taz Williams good.
Yeah, we're not 100% sure it's Thursday. So,
Yeah,
we
it
can't
might
even
be
agree on
Wednesday.
that.
Well,
So.
the next guy is 4-star wide receiver Jacob Washington. I don't know much about him,
Yeah,
so
no.
I just gave him a 50% chance. I don't know if he's actually interested.
No, I mean, I could tell you right now the wide receivers to pay attention to if you want them. So all right,
here's
so
the
Taz
one.
Williams, Quincy
Yeah,
Porter,
Jacob.
John Anthony Hall, and Preston Brown. Those are the 4 wide receivers I'd keep an eye on right now.
And here's the one we both feel confident about. 4-star tight end Andrew Olich. I think he's a lock, but we'll see.
Yes. Well, I'm not gonna say lock, but Andrew Olish. If anyone's paid attention to the recruiting rankings, he just got pushed in the top 100. I spoke on this, I think, on the Tuesday show. This is a cornerstone player. Michigan's in a great position. His mom wants him to go to Michigan. That doesn't guarantee anything. We've seen that before where the parents want the kid to go somewhere. We've also seen it where the kid wants to go somewhere, but the parent wants him to go somewhere else. It just seems to never sometimes work in Michigan's favor. But I like where we stand with Andrew Olish, and I would say you can be pretty optimistic about that one from what I know. So Andrew Olish is definitely a name to keep an eye on.
Also, 4-star inside offensive lineman Michael Carroll. I think it's between us and Penn State. I give him about a 50% chance for Michigan lineman.
Yeah.
What do you think, TJ?
I wouldn't say 50%, but I do know Penn State's after him. I do know Michigan has him very high on his board. I mean, I don't have any like unique intel about him. I just know that Penn State's possibly the leader for him right now. That's all I know.
Right. This guy I had been following a little bit, and I think we have a good shot at him. 4-star linebacker Nathaniel Owasu Boti. Now he's got Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan, and somebody else on his list. I think Michigan has a really good shot at getting him like 80%.
Yeah, so I agree.
So
There's 3 linebackers, and I'll just name them now: Chase Taylor, Owasu, Bolton, and then Kamar Archie. Those are the 3 linebackers to keep an eye on. I'd say we're in the best position for those 3. But
and that
hey,
was the
Moose,
next guy I was going to mention.
all right, throw your next dude, and then we gotta get to the next caller, my friend.
Last one is 4-star safety Jordan Young. It seems like he's going to go to Clemson. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I don't think we have a good shot at him.
I agree. I'm not optimistic about that one. But all right, man. Thanks for calling in. I'm sure I'll talk to you either later tonight or tomorrow, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Just a lot. Sorry I took up a lot of time, but there was just so much stuff to talk about tonight, man.
I know, dude. It happens every show. Like you feel like sometimes it just shit happens. But yeah, man, no problem. And then next week we'll get to it again.
All right,
TJ.
Good night, guys. Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Peace.
TJ, just 2 quick things. Do you think the strategy, based on what you just said there, do you think the strategy is changing? Do you think because of the news that we have from today with freshmen, and also do you think there's going to be re-recruiting of anyone, or maybe kind of the whole equation changes?
Do you mean like re-recruiting of already committed guys, or guys were already
committed guys, or maybe a shot at, hey, you know what, our budget's bigger, maybe we can go back to some people?
Well, I do think that's yes, especially in Elijah Melendez, for example. So Elijah Melendez, who's committed to Miami, on some real shit, he wants to come to Michigan, but on some real shit, Miami has a very big bag for Elijah Melendez. So if Michigan is willing to, and this is what we got to see now. So I can't say for certain because this news just broke literally an hour and a half ago. I don't know Michigan's true approach. I also don't know how much money is going to be allocated to the football team. It's too early to call, but I would assume Michigan football is going to get a pretty large budget. And if that is the case, that money is going to go to not only roster players, but it should go to recruiting because there's no hurdle now, so we'll see. It's too early to call if the strategy has evolved like this. I don't know. And I also don't know how much money is being allocated, but I will say re-recruiting is definitely going to be a thing. And I'm also going to say the price tag is probably going to go up because there's more money in the NIL space now. So we'll see. But all right,
Sounds good.
let's pull
So
Jackson
just one
Johnson.
quick technical thing here. Can we get people's names up? Is that possible? Under
Yeah, you're talking about
when they
like,
call in or no? Yeah,
yeah.
I guess we could try when somebody calls in, see how that works. So okay.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
What's up, Jackson?
How you doing, TJ? It's nice meeting you for the first time tonight, Ferris.
Yeah, nice to meet you. You are such a great resource to us. We really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm doing my best. Well, when I was telling everybody about the call-in show on the Instagram story, I put on Saturday Night Special. It just felt right.
Okay.
But in all seriousness, though, I want to discuss a little bit about the breaking news that happened just now.
Yeah, man.
I think the Michigans, the Alabamas, the Ohio States, Texas, Oklahomas of the world, they'll be fine. But my question is, how will this affect like the Virginias, the Wake Forest, the Iowa States of the world? And now notice I didn't put in like Michigan State, Indiana, Rutgers, because like those schools, they'll be fine financially. Same with like the Vanderbilts, Kentuckys, because they'll be fine financially as well. But some of those schools in like the ACC, Big 12 that could get left in the dust on realignment, those are the ones that are going to get screwed, just like Oregon State, Washington State did.
Right. I mean, but see, again, so because what you're pointing out, Jackson, is the TV contracts for the ACC, the Big 12, and the Pac-12, what's left of it. They're getting like $30 million a year, man. Like the Big 10 is going to almost triple that in like a couple years. And like, I think it's 2 more years that they'll be close to like $90 million. The SEC is going to be, I think after, maybe next season or something like that, that's going to be increasing for them too. Like so the big boys, the Power 2 is going to be absolutely fine. They're going to have the resources to hit the $20 million cap. All the other schools, it'll be interesting, but also at the same time, some of that money is going to go into the market. And that's my point. So now if you have the Vanderbilts and you have the Wake Forest who have like, let's say a $5 to $10 million budget, what do we think the price of a quarterback's going to go for now? What's the price of a star wide receiver going to be? It's already nuts. A defensive end. Like, so for anyone who's maybe not fully aware of like the high price positions in recruiting, it's quarterback, it's left tackles, defensive ends, and cornerbacks, and wide receiver. If I didn't mention wide receiver, those positions are getting the high dollar amounts. So now, what does that mean? I mean, I believe the price is going up, and that's going to be interesting to witness.
Yeah. I'll say this, though. Somebody's making a 30 for 30 documentary on this stuff right here and now. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But on a higher note, I wanted to go over a little bit about the 2024 schedule for Michigan.
All right.
And how much confidence do you have on the 2024 season? So I got the schedule pulled up from FBS schedules. Okay. What kind of season do you see this being for Michigan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually pretty optimistic about it. I'm pulling it up right now. I'm gonna try and get it on the screen so everyone can look at it. Let's see, right here.
There we go.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, the game that is going to determine the season, not determine the season, but we're gonna know week 2 whether we're gonna understand the ceiling of the season week 2 in terms of if we beat Texas, what's the ceiling for the team, right? I mean, if we can beat Texas week 2, I'd say you could probably count us to be a national champion contender. If we lose to Texas week 2, I think you could probably say we can compete for maybe the college football playoff. Determining now. Let me also just qualify this though. It'll be early in the year. Teams improve as the year goes on. Week 2 is early, especially when you have a new starting quarterback, right? But that game to me is going to be a signifier for what is the ceiling for the season. And if we could pull the victory there, Jackson, I feel extremely optimistic. I mean, if we look at obviously Fresno State, Arkansas State, that's money. USC, I'm not scared of USC. I mean, what about you, Ferris?
Yeah, I mean, if we go through the schedule, what I would say, the way I would, a lot of times when I do analysis in my day job, I kind of look at, okay, optimistically, realistically, pessimistically. All right. So optimistically, we beat Texas, and then we go from being ranked maybe the number 10 team. My guess is that we'll be ranked around number 10 going into the Texas game, and coming out of the Texas game, if we win that game, we'll be probably number 3, number 4, somewhere in there, right? So that's optimistic because then we're sort of ahead of schedule and we already beat Texas. We already got that feather in our cap. And even if we split Ohio State and Oregon, and we run the table, assuming we run the table with everything else, we're in a really good spot. We might even get we either get a home game or maybe we get into the title game, the Big Ten title game, and we, have a chance at that bye. Realistically, my gut feel initially was, okay, there are 3 games that we're going to have a tough time with, Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas. And can we go 1-2 in those 3 games? And so we have a 2-loss Michigan team. I think a 2-loss Michigan team gets into the playoffs. Pessimistically, we stumble somewhere in the schedule, like maybe that USC game. I just don't. I mean, my gut feel saying, okay, they're traveling to us. We have our defense. It's going to be really hard for them in the Big House. I think it was a 3:30 game. It's probably not going to be a noon game, right? I think it's a 3:30 game. So, realistically, we should beat them, but pessimistically, the real floor to me is probably that we don't win any of the 3 big games and we drop another one somehow, maybe that USC game. Even if we're not favored in any of those 3 games, sort of statistically, if you sort of think of it statistically, we ought to be able to win 1 out of the 3. Even if our odds were 1-3 to win each of those 3, the chances of winning 1 out of those 3 should be greater than 50%. So I'm looking at Michigan as basically being, it depends on Texas, but it's not the optimistic scenario depends on Texas. That's the way I would put it. But we could do what Alabama did last year, where they lost early to Texas, and then they recovered and they just won out and made it. So that could happen as well. So I could see it in a couple different scenarios, but I am more optimistic now. After the spring game, after all of our portal acquisitions than I was maybe 6 weeks ago. Let's put it that way.
Okay. What do you think, Jackson?
If Michigan is 10-2, they're in. If they're 9-3, we could see them like battling for that 12 spot. So that it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, I don't know about the 12 spot because I think they're gonna probably give that to like a group of 5 team or something. But
11
spot, my mistake.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I personally like this. So I believe we could be I believe we could be a Big Ten contender. That's where I stand on the team right now. I think we are a college football playoff team as it stands right now. The big games for me are Texas, Oregon, and Ohio State. I am not sleeping on USC, but I do not believe in USC. And I don't believe in USC because their defense has been suspect. I know they have a new defensive coordinator, but you got to prove it before I can believe in you. And then they got a new quarterback. Lincoln Riley obviously is a quarterback whisperer, but I'm just personally, it's at home. That's another thing too. So our schedule really sets up well for us. We got Texas at home. We got Oregon at home. We got USC at home. The only game on the road is Ohio State, and we've already proven we can win at Ohio State. So, the schedule is not easy, but it does set up nice with home field advantage.
Something I thought about when Michigan had a problem beating Ohio State, it was when they weren't thinking about Ohio State as Ohio State. They were thinking about, oh, well, that's just another game on the schedule. But what they did was treat every game like it's Ohio State. That's what changed 2021. I wonder if that's going to be what Ryan Day's going to try to do in 2024, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with Michigan in 2024.
Yeah.
So
what else?
Quirky.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to jump in.
You're good.
One other sort of quirky thing that could happen is Ohio State, Oregon, and Michigan could all go 1-1 against the other two. Then you've got Penn State that's just kind of out there not playing Michigan. It might be really hard to pick, pick the two teams that are going to end up going to the Big Ten title game. And there may be an advantage for the team that's kind of third because they'll avoid playing that title game, which is sort of like a bye. And the whole point of the title game is to get a bye. And then they will get a home game. And presumably, if they're in the top half, they might get a home, potentially a home game if they're in the top half of the. Right.
Well,
so,
I mean, that's if Big Ten, which we think it will, but that's if the Big Ten gets 3 teams, which we think they will. Right?
I'm going to be wishing for Michigan. I'm going to be wishing for a Michigan Notre Dame playoff game. I want it so bad.
Yeah, especially at the Big House. That'd be epic.
I mean,
that'd be so.
I don't care where the location is. That would be like the ultimate Christmas. That would be like the ultimate Christmas present. I want to see Michigan Notre Dame be back on the schedule. Because I don't want Michigan getting rid of the other Power 5 games. I just want to see Michigan Notre Dame on there every year again. I'm on my best behavior, NBC. No worries. Just make it happen. I know you're watching somehow. But before I go, 24 days until Father's Day. So what do we do exactly? What are we going to do? Well, you go on in the topqualityshirts.com/collections, Michigan football at the Voice College Football, where you can get some of the best stuff for your dad on Father's Day. There's a little pet bowl, Michigan button shirt, the couples t-shirt, the coffee mug, top 25 that actually makes sense, the pint glass, the hoodie, but also the Voice of College Football gear. You got the glossy mugs, the notebooks that keep all your secrets safe. If you need to write something to just vent, you had a horrible day. I mean, you're stressed out in your private life. You're stressed out at work, and you don't want it all out in the open. You just come on in and write it on the Voice of College Football notebook. And I guarantee you it's worth it. There's phone cases, flags, shorts for the summertime, slides. I mean, what a coincidence. This weekend is Memorial Day weekend, and it's getting close to swimming time. So it's perfect, just perfect. Little visor. And we got some shirts for the kids. Some socks that'll keep you warm. Mouse pad, the dog bowl, the distressed dad hat, the water bottle, and the beer glass to where you can show all your friends every time you're watching a big game. Just be like, oh, well, I got this from Top Quality Shirts at the Voice College Football. So come on in and get it for the college football fan in your life, especially for the dads out there on Father's Day.
Oh, yeah. You need to work at QVC, man, and push that Voice of College Football product.
Well, I may do that. I may get tempted to do that.
Yeah, we might have to promote you, dude. We might have to get you on there. Put those ladies to
man.
shame, dude.
Well, they may want to buy some voice college football gear. I'll tell you what, they'll love it.
I
Especially
think
for
kind
Father's
of a
Day.
late night shift would be really good for you. Yeah, I think you could sell all kinds of stuff, the blenders, the all kinds of stuff. But shot glasses,
Or
you got it. So yeah, mugs.
I kind of feel like
saying-
sometimes it's like Shane Gillis with the Bud Light on like every time he's on a podcast where it's like I'm just like calling in for voice college football bug.
There you go. Hell yeah. So any last thoughts, Jackson?
That's about it. Y'all stay safe, stay cool, stay away from that pollen. I'll be seeing you guys later.
Hell yeah, Jackson. All right, buddy.
Let's get
we
Ronan
appreciate
Sports Talk to 1,000 followers on X, and let's get Bearish Con to 1,000 followers on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok.
And let's get this channel to 7,000 subscribers by next week. That's what we want.
There we go.
All right, Jackson.
Come on,
let's
get
get all
Jackson.
the channels to 1,000.
Friends and
All
family,
right.
please get people to. We're so close. We're within 50, so just need another 50.
Y'all have a good
All right,
one.
Jackson. Yeah, have a good night. All right, next up is Jacob Tilley. What is up, my man?
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey,
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you tell me, man. Thanks for calling in.
A lot of people know me as Till Daddy on X. That's kind of what I go by. It's actually the first time for my account that I've showed my face. So, but yeah, it's nice to be on here.
I like the jersey, dude.
Thank you. NIL license, Carthy.
There you go. So what's the word, man? What are you thinking?
Well, what I wanted to talk to you guys about tonight is it? Do you guys want to go back on anything else, or can I go ahead and go to my point?
What open topic, bro? Whatever you want to bring to the table.
Okay. So last year, Michigan had the best defense in college football, statistically. And my question for you is, if this defense is better than last year, which it seems like it's going to be, could we talk as in best defense in the playoff era? Like, because I mean, last year could be in the talks for one of the best, but I really do think this year could be.
Yeah, elite. Yeah, this year could be an elite defense. I agree with you. Are you talking like over like a 3-year period of like a 4-year period being like what's your framework you're working with?
Well, I usually don't like to say all time because it's hard to compare eras, but like honestly, I'll go by the playoff era since 2014.
Well, I'd say the Georgia defense, especially that 2020 defense that had all those like draft picks that were, that they basically, let's be honest, they owned us in that first college football game. That defense might be, alongside last year's defense, the best two defenses, in my opinion, in the college football era. But Georgia, I'd say if it's not us in the college football era, Michigan having the best defense, I'd say it would only be Georgia. I mean, Alabama had some great defenses too. I'm trying to think if I'm missing a defense on an elite level like that. Ferris, do you got anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I mean, I also want to kind of jump in with the idea that we could be better next year than this year. Yeah, I'm not sure about that exactly.
Does he mean defensively? Defensively, or as a team as a whole?
Yeah, defensively.
I don't know. Why don't you? I mean, I think it's possible. I mean, why not? Why would you think we won't be better?
Yeah, I mean, I think. Well, let's look at Sanistril for one, right?
Okay.
Maybe our top end will be better. Will our defense overall be better based on all the players we lost? I don't know about that. I'm just kind of thinking through. So
no, it's fair. No, it's all good. No, it's fair, dude. So like, here's what I'd say though.
Yeah.
So Will Johnson's a year older. Mason Graham's a year older. Kenneth Grant's a year older. Okay, those are your cornerstone players. Unfortunately, we lost Rod Moore, so that's a hit. Makari Page is a year older, and then linebacker wise, personally, I think we might have an upgrade with Jay Sean Barnum and Ernest Hausman. As much as I love Junior Colson and Michael Barrett, these are better athletes. Okay, like Jay Sean Barnum's a better athlete than Junior Colson. Ernest Hausman's a better athlete than Michael Barrett. Like these are like smash mouth linebackers. Okay, so like, I'd argue, and also Derek Moore's a year older. Okay, Rayshon Benny's the third rotation defensive tackle. Josiah Stewart is another year in the system. I think personally, so this is my opinion. I think
Chris Jenkins you did mention, so just one other.
Well, Chris Jenkins we lost, right? So,
yeah,
right,
that's what I'm saying
lost.
in terms of loss, right? Yeah.
But wouldn't you say, and until Daddy, you can count in on this. Wouldn't you say our cornerstone players from last year are all back except Sanders still?
I mean, yeah. Besides Colson, yeah.
Right, but I would argue that Colson was not even a cornerstone player. He was more of just a high-level player. I would say Will Johnson's a cornerstone player. Mason Graham was a cornerstone player. Sanders still was a cornerstone player. Along with Grant, I wouldn't even argue Chris Jenkins was a cornerstone player. I think Chris Jenkins was just a high-level player, right? Like for example, Will Johnson's gonna be a first-round draft pick. Mason Graham's gonna be a first-round draft pick. Kenneth Grant might not be a first-round draft pick, but he will be a second-round draft pick. Like, what defensive player last year was drafted in the first 2 rounds? None. So that'd be the argument. There's a higher level of talent on this team's defense. That's going to be a year older.
Yeah, I mean, 2 top 5 picks straight out of Mason Graham and Will Johnson. I mean, Will Johnson could go number 1 overall if it's not Travis Hunter. I think that's something you definitely got to look at. Could be looking at 3 in the first round defense, and I'd hate to see what the second round's going to look like because it's going to be stacked. But, right. I mean, going into next year, we're going to have a complete overhaul in the defense once again. Or, well, at least not this year, but it's going to look like happened to the offense last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. I'd say if Rod Moore was back, I'd feel even more confident about it. Losing Rod Moore was a hit, though. But I actually think this defense has the potential to be better than last year's defense, no question. I mean, I think if we're looking at a limitation for this team, it's going to be quarterback play. But we don't really know what Orgy's ceiling is. So, as I was talking about with Jackson Johnson, I'm really optimistic for this season. But because there is unknowns, I can understand why there is some skepticism about the ceiling for the team this season.
I think this year is going to go a lot like how 2021 did. We're going to ride on that defense all year, on Edwards, running back. And then I think when we play a higher level team, not Ohio State, probably going to get shut down. I hate to say it, but that's just what I'm feeling for this year.
You think offensively we're going to get shut down?
I'd say so. I'm sold on Alex Orgy. I think he has the skill set to be a great quarterback. But he doesn't have any proven traits yet other than his athleticism. And, I mean, I don't want to compare him to Cade McNamara, but I do think that's kind of the spot he's going to fill this year. But I don't think he'll get replaced going into next year. He has 2 years left, doesn't he? Eligibility. I believe so.
Orgy?
Orgy, yes.
Yeah. He has 2 more years. So I would say this about Orgy. He's a more dynamic player than Cade McNamara. Orgy has the ability to run, right? So the thing with Cade was he was checked down Cade, severely limited if teams didn't give him anything within 10 yards. With Orgy, if a play breaks down, he can make a play with his feet. You got to put a linebacker, you got to put a spy on him. You're going to have to, and that's going to open things up. And if you put a spy on a quarterback and you have a tight end like Colson Loveland, options are there, right? So I think we would all agree Colson Loveland's arguably, if not the best tight end in the nation. So I'm optimistic about Orgy. What I saw in the spring game only increased my optimism. Now, I will say this, though. I'm not like listen, there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered with the quarterback position, but the spring game gave me confidence that I didn't have prior to it. I'll just say that.
Yeah, quick point from me with Orgy. Optimist, or let's say the quarterback position. Optimistically, Orgy 2024 is like Milrow 2023. That's
Yes.
the optimistic upper end. The bottom, the floor, maybe it isn't even Orgy. It's another quarterback in the room that's there. That's a game manager, but that game manager is going to be at a Cade or better level. Let's put it that way, right? So, if you were to say how much confidence do I have in Orgy, I don't know if I can answer that question directly. How much confidence do I have in the room? I feel like the floor is high enough that it's at a Cade level already. So,
Yes,
so we do better than that, right? So that's the way to look at it, I would say.
I agree. I think Davis Warren's better than Cade, to be honest with you. So, what else you got for us? Like any other topics you want to hit on?
Yeah, you guys mentioned the schedule earlier this year, and I said I do think Michigan's going right on the defense a lot. I think Michigan loses to Texas early and then runs the table in the Big Ten. I do think that's how it's going to go. I think 2-1 is a good possibility. That's what I put on my own personal blog. I'm going to stick by that.
Okay, so you think
it's not a bad
Texas is going to get us early? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's fair. I mean, I think we all agree. The big games for us are Texas. We'll say USC, although I am optimistic about it. Oregon, and then obviously Ohio State. Those are the three teams that will give us our greatest challenge of the season. So, but so me and John, I'll speak for John. We're pretty much in the same camp. We're kind of thinking 10-2 this year. I think we could beat Ohio State, though. I mean, listen, let's also just qualify this as well. When the games start getting played in September, we'll really see if the trench play has improved with Ohio State. Because that's a big thing for me. Is their offensive line play better? Is their defensive line developing? Because it's lacked development the past few years. And if I see that, then I might change my opinion on what the result of that game. But as it stands currently, I think we can get that win, even though it's in Columbus. Oregon's going to be a challenge, but listen, Oregon lost to Washington. Oregon, I'm not 100% confident is Big Ten ready. Right, I'm just not sure yet. That's going to be interesting to see for all of us. Every fan of every Big Ten team, we're going to see what does the Pac-12 bring to the table, and can these teams hang with us? Can they adapt? Are they already up to size and strength to be able to handle power football in the Big Ten? Because even though Ohio State has a hybrid offense where it's more of an aggressive air attack, they at least can maintain themselves in the Big Ten. Unless they play a team like Michigan, obviously, who has a little bit more power run game that, their defensive line is not equipped to handle just yet. We'll see if they can this year. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic. I'm going with 10-2 right now, but, we'll see when the ball gets snapped, where that goes.
I do think Oregon is in a similar place as to where Michigan was in the 2010s, or especially the late 2010s. Some great teams. They just can't get over that hump. Their hump being Washington. I mean, 2016 and 2018 Michigan, great teams. I just think, it's all the head game. And then you go in Ohio State and you lose somehow to a team that was 2016 definitely inferior. Of course, we all know we actually didn't lose that game, but
right, facts, absolutely.
Yeah, no, you have a really good take. I mean, you're basically talking about Alabama's what Alabama did last year. You're saying Michigan can do the same thing, lose a game early to Texas, actually, and then run the table after that. So yeah, I think it's a totally reasonable take. The issues we have, I would think Texas has the same issues too. They did lose a lot of players. They are coming to the big house. They should fear us just as much as we fear them, so to speak. I know that I believe they are favored in that game currently, right? As it stands right now, I think Texas is favored over Michigan in Ann Arbor. So we'll see. I mean, if our offensive line's good enough and we're getting 5.5 yards a carry, we're not going to do what Texas did, the big gaffe they made, because they were doing 5.5 yards per carry.
Yeah, abandon the run.
And they stopped running it. We're not going to do that. We're going to just keep smashing till we, break them down. So let's see what happens. Texas does have some really good 5-star players, right? So we should not underestimate Texas. It's going to be a tough game. I wouldn't say there's a 80% chance we win that game. I think if we win, it's like, I would put it close to 50-50, maybe a little bit higher than 50-50 on Michigan's favor.
Yeah, I'm right there too. All right, man. Do you got any last comments before we move on to our next caller?
I just want to thank you guys for having me on. It was a great opportunity. Nice meeting you guys.
Man, yeah, we appreciate it, and thanks for calling in, man. Honestly, we'll have
call
this
in
show
again,
every Thursday. Yeah, we'll have this show every Thursday. Especially, I mean, hey, if we don't hear from you for a little bit, make sure you come through during the regular season, man, because it's gonna get pretty good this year.
Yeah, go Blue, guys.
All right, go Blue, man. All right, Ferris. We're gonna bring up the Bull will win. What is up, bro?
Going, guys. Go Blue.
It's going, man.
Go Blue.
Heck yeah. So I just wanted to. I think I just got a couple questions real quick. One, I sort of want to talk about some numbers, ironically. So maybe Pharaohs will like this. I'm pretty good with math. It's part of my job. But so. Because I want to know what your thoughts and if you guys have any maybe information on the TV deals, the money, and things like that. So apparently there's like 2 big ones I was researching during this time. You have the CFP, money comes in, given you put teams in the CFP, and then you also have the big giant contract with Fox and CBS and I think one other for some games. It was, I think, last year before it was done, it was 7 years, $7 billion at least. That's going to get dished out right over that course. Now they just said that this year, which every team in the Big Ten got 60.5 million, right? Every team got that. They say it's going to get even bigger next year for us because we are bringing in USC, Oregon, and other couple teams. So, so my thing is, because of the whole, PTD thing going, ruffling feathers with us, do you think that we could somehow in the next TV deal or something sort of like, what, Michigan, Ohio State, we bring the numbers. Who else is? No one? That's what I thought. So do you think it's potential that we could try to get more of that money come maybe next contract or something like that, so that helps, that I don't think it's going to help the cap, but at least get us more money to maybe spend,
Yeah. So, Ferris, I have a take on that, but do you have a take on that, Ferris?
Well, I mean, you're also sort of hinting or getting into that gray area of our, why not just blow the whole thing up and have a super league, so to speak, with only the top tiers. I mean, really, it's going back to a conversation we had a little bit earlier. Teams like Northwestern, Minnesota really sort of lucked out by just happening to be in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Versus a Washington State or something that was in the Pac-10, but then just got cut basically, right? So, it just seems a little weird that the revenue is shared that way, but they're really not winning games to justify it, or bringing in a TV audience, if you want to look at it that way, to justify it, So, So you make really good points. Go ahead, TJ.
Yes. So I would agree that, I mean, all right. So here's where I think things are trending. I think what we have going on right now is, all right, Michigan got very pissed off with what happened in November. And Michigan has already internally discussed a disproportionate revenue share for the teams that are not earning the money that the schools like Ohio State, an Oregon, a Michigan, a USC will bring in. Because when the Big Ten colluded against us, and I know there's probably a Buckeye fan like colluded against you. Yeah, when you guys try to like terminate our season because you knew we were going to win a national title.
Our players, you heard our players. No.
Yeah, so all that crying bullshit. So Michigan has internally discussed on the next TV deal to have a larger share. The teams that bring in the money, so this includes Ohio State, this includes the big dogs, to have a higher share than the teams that are literally riding the coattails like a Rutgers, a Northwestern, etc. Also, and Joe Klatt has discussed this, and I agree with Joe Klatt. He says the next era of conference expansion is actually teams being kicked out of conferences.
Oh, relegation.
Yeah, relegation pretty much. So I think that there's something to that. I think you might see a team get kicked out of the Big Ten or the SEC possibly, because why have more teams take from the pie when the teams that are actually making the revenue could generate more? So this is where we are in college athletics right now. We have a changing landscape. It's definitely, even with today's news breaking with players now being allowed to get paid, that just opens up more doors with more questions. And there's really not a resolution as it stands. I mean, it's going to continue to evolve. We are not in a place of anything solid right now. It's all fluid.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just, like you said, after all the whole Big Ten colluding against us, and I definitely, Steve Dace brought light to that during that situation. Like, last time I checked, you don't have anything without us. You don't get this money without us involved in Ohio State. So,
Right.
Yeah, Ohio State can say what they do, but that's fine. But it's us too. And I think even one team reported that they had to borrow money to try to operate. I don't know if that was Minnesota or some team or something. They had to borrow money to operate. I was like, well, that's not good either. So, and I understood that when we brought Rutgers in, that they said they wanted the New York market, quote unquote, to shine light, the Big Ten to shine light into the New York market. I don't know how much of that is true, but I think our brand and our games do well no matter what market we're in, I feel like. And I think that's most of it with the recruiting. Just one question, maybe Jack can help too with this. What's a good age to take my son to a Michigan game? He's 2. He just turned 2. So I don't know if I should take him when he's now or 4 or 5. I don't know. So I want to make it a moment for him.
So here's
let him know.
Yeah, here's what I would say. So first of all, kind of getting to the game. I'm used to walking half mile, 3/4 of a mile, from downtown or just in the neighborhood, my secret spot, whatever. So you do have that challenge. I don't know if you're gonna have your kid on your shoulders or something, but it is a pain to get in and out of Michigan Stadium for sure. If you're gonna, and it's gonna be costly if you're gonna park in one of the lots, and you can beat the traffic out if you just simply walk a half mile, walk 3/4 of a mile anyway. Once you get to the game, I would say go to a lesser opponent game. And also kind of expect that you're talking about bench seats. It's not going to be super comfortable. So you should just kind of keep that in mind. But there's plenty of space in the stadium to sort of just take a break, go onto the stands, go into the grassy area. There are hills and, there's like a little hill there and stuff. You can just hang out. There are kids who go to the game. Do people swear? Yeah, that happens. Maybe stay a little bit away from the student section if that bothers you. Are people going to start drinking? Yes, that's going to happen starting this year, right? TJ, is that what we said? So yeah, just kind of keep that in mind. Yeah, just keep that in mind. But I would say, yeah, try it out. But your expectation shouldn't be that you're going to see every minute of the game. That's what I would say.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I see. Yeah.
I was gonna say I agree with that. Well, here's what I would say though, man. In terms of like an age, so here's the deal: anything before 5 years old, you're really doing that for you to create a memory. The kid's probably not gonna remember it. Yeah. And like some of the commenters in the comments, my first game was about 7 years old, and I remember pretty vividly going to that game because I had hockey practice at Yost, and then we walked from hockey practice all the way to the big house, and it was just like. I don't know, it was just so exciting, you know, because I was watching them on TV, and I finally got to go to my first game. So like, I would say, kind of like the commenters, I'd wait till about 7. I mean, if you want to do 6, sure, but wait till the kid can actually remember it, because that first game is gonna hit, man, and you'll make him a lifer. You'll make him a lifer, dude.
True. That is true. I remember I've gone to 2 Michigan games, sadly, in my lifetime, and luckily the second one was through some weird high school thing. I just was like, they're like, yeah, we're going to do concessions. We're going to help do concessions in the stands or whatever. I was like, okay, I don't really care. And they're like, yeah, this is going to be the Ohio State game. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, sign me up. I don't care if I got to grill some dogs and just peek my head out. I'll do that. And that day I saw like the inner hatred of Ohio State and Michigan, and there was like an Ohio State fan in a wheelchair, and there was a Michigan fan that was like, "Yo, get the F out my way," and I was like, "Yo, this is serious."
Yeah, dude.
This is serious.
Oh, yeah, dude. Funny. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, shoot, I'll tell you what, man. Well, I don't know. I was gonna say if you can get him to an Ohio State game at the age of 7, that'd be epic. But to be honest, he might not grasp. You might not grasp it that young, but yeah, man. I mean, I'll tell you what, though. I mean, that'd be a pretty special moment taking your kid to his first game.
Yeah, definitely. But I appreciate you guys' time. You both guys do great work, and appreciate what you guys do and helping us understand a lot of things that are going inside, inside the stadium and stuff like that. So. Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks, guys. Go Blue.
Yeah. Thanks for calling in, man. We appreciate that. Go Blue.
Hey, TJ, I just want to make a super quick comment. Because we were I'm just thinking about how crazy Tony Petitti was to go after Michigan, who is I mean, maybe you can argue Ohio State, but the crown jewel of the Big Ten, the team that brings in all of the revenue. If this happened in the SEC, what happened last year, if it happened in the SEC, the commissioner would be defending the team. It would be totally the opposite. It's just such a weird thing that Petitti did. I just want to get that out there.
And the commissioner would tell these guys to cut it the fuck out, like respectfully, like, not to swear, I apologize. I'm trying to tone it down on my swearing, but he would tell them to cut it out, like, because we do not eat, like, there is so much competition in the SEC, and they're all playing dirty. Like, they cannot afford to expose the skeletons in the closet. Like, they just can't do it. But yeah, no, Tony, and then Tony Petitti to ghost Harbaugh when you set up a meeting with him, dude. Like, the disrespect, bro. Like, the disrespect.
Yeah.
But all right, let's take our next caller, Dr. Buckeye. Let's bring him up.
Kick the tires and light the fires, gentlemen. Happy to walk into the devil's den here. I was going to stop at a Best Buy. I had to get some recording equipment and a disguise to get onto a Michigan State sideline and tape some football games. That's why I was late. My bad. Yeah. Man. Or I was going to get back in the vacuum cleaner business like the Stallions. So, that's why I'm late. That's why I'm late.
All right. All I have to say is right now, vacuum cleaner jokes suck.
Where's the Stallions? Is he with Portnoy now? Is he with Portnoy now? Drinking beers or some shit?
He's doing some guest appearances with Portnoy. Living the dream right now. That's a legend you're talking about, man.
Yeah. Yeah, when you help a team win, I guess, and cheat, that's you get treated to beers and wined and dined with the best of them, I guess.
Well,
Things happen that way.
he did write the Michigan Manifesto. So I mean,
Right. See, I want the book, but he's like in a Henry Hill protection program somewhere. I don't know where he's at right now. Where's he at? Is he going to get whacked if he comes out and writes his book and does a tell-all? What's going on, guys? You got the 411. Tell me.
I mean, he's being protected, man. He's a legend. You can't just let legends be vulnerable out here. You got all these rivals who want him dead, dude.
I'm going to spend the rest of my life like a schnook. You know what? Yeah, I love that movie, but that's what's going to happen to him if he comes out and writes the book, I guess. So, well, I'm
sure
happy
one day
to
we'll
be,
get more on it.
I'm sure one day we'll find out the 411 on that one. But I'm happy to talk college football. With Mark Rogers' largest fan base, I think it became his largest fan base within the last 3 years. But happy to be here. Excited about this upcoming season. I'm sure you guys are too. Still basking in the afterglow, I'm sure. But what are you guys' thoughts on the upcoming Big Ten season, and what do you think about the new arrangement that is the Big Ten with the Washingtons and the Oregons and the new schools coming on board?
Yeah, go for it, Ferris. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was necessary. I mean, it's sad to see the Pac-10 go, or Pac-10, 12, whatever go, but it's I'm personally excited. I'll just give you my personal situation. I'm moving to Southern California. I cannot wait to go to the Rose Bowl and the Coliseum and see I'll call them legacy Big Ten teams play there. I think they're going to end up taking over the stadiums. I think Ohio State and Michigan, Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Penn State, all of those fan bases are going to make a vacation and go to LA and take over both of those stadiums when they play there for away games. Can't wait to see that. There's two different styles of play. Pac-10 not playing as much defense, quote unquote. Let's see what happens when it all gets mixed together. Let's see what happens in the Northwest does have bad weather, but it's not like Penn State or Michigan or Wisconsin bad weather when it's snow or the I went to the many decades ago. I went to the I think it was a 5-0 game where Michigan beat Purdue, and it was an ice storm the entire game. That kind of stuff doesn't happen, I don't think, on the West Coast as much. So it'll be very interesting to see all of those dynamics as well. I'm personally looking forward to it. What do you think, TJ?
Yeah, I mean, I was pro alignment. I'm stoked about it. I think, I've always been slightly envious of what the SEC has had in terms of these powerhouse matchups almost weekly. The competition level in the SEC is so high. The Big Ten's always had the Big Two or the Big Three. If Penn State, although they can never beat or never win the Big Ten, but I mean, man, when you add an Oregon, you add a USC, and then I'm sure at some point Washington will get it together because they typically do. I just think the level, the quality of play that we're about to all experience, every fan base in the Big Ten, is just about to be nuts, man. I mean, every weekend is going to be must-see TV. We're Michigan fans, but we're definitely paying attention to what Ohio State's doing. Your guys' schedule, you guys got a pretty nice schedule this year, man. I think you admit that.
Well, I mean, going to Oregon's not going to be a joke. Let's be fair. That's not a joke, and it's never a joke to go to Penn State, which I think they're going to be a solid team this year. They'll be a top 12 to 15 team. So I mean, that's going to help. Listen, I've always been excited when Ohio State has that major non-conference game. I was at the 2005 Texas game against Vince Young. I thought that was incredible. A game that we let slip away late. against, I guess maybe the best Texas team ever, and you guys got a peek of Vince Young the year before in that Rose Bowl and how good he was in a great game too. But I mean, I was excited when we played Baker Mayfield and, Oklahoma in those back-to-back years.
Right.
So when split both of those games, when Storman and Norman and, got them pretty good in 16, they came back and got us in 17. So yeah, I mean, I like a major non-conference matchup. I don't think we see enough of it. I think that that's one of the best things about college football. I think when you can get those matchups, I think it's good. I don't know if I'm 100% around realignment. I think that the Big Ten did what they had to do. The Big Ten did what they had to do because the SEC did what they did. They basically said, okay, if the SEC is going to throw it all in, we've got to throw it all in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
Now, I don't know. I have my questions about the future of college football and where it's going with realignment, NIL, and even 12-team playoff. I still think the ideal number was 8. I never thought the ideal number was 12. I thought 8 would have been perfect, and I still think 8 is perfect. But
it's going to 14 now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just giving you my view, of what I thought.
I liked it at 12, but I hear you.
I mean, I thought 8 would have catered to it to begin with, because if you think about it, you had 5 major conferences. You take the 5 major conference winners, you take a non-power 5, you get to 6, and then you take the second place Big Ten team or the second place SEC team. Bam, you're at 8 teams. What's wrong with that?
Right.
How does that not work?
I think it's logical. I do. I mean, I personally, I did want 12, but I agree that 8 was a logical position. 4 was okay until this recent year. And then we found out in the last year that like some teams kind of got snubbed. Although, I mean, I think we all would agree Florida State wouldn't have been a true, it wasn't at the level of play, but Georgia would have been. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but listen, it's at 12. It's going to 14. I think anything more than 12 is a little too much. And I agree with you. When Texas and Oklahoma made that move to the SEC, the Big Ten did the right thing in making sure they secured themselves in the college football landscape. Because now look at the ACC and look at the Big 12.
Right.
They're hanging on the side of a cliff right now.
Right. No, no, go ahead.
Just a quick question for you, Dr. Buckeye, with this realignment talk. What do you think about the idea of here's what I call it, the game, Michigan versus Ohio State. There may be a rematch the week after.
Right.
And also there may be scenarios where the team that loses still makes the playoffs and goes further in the playoffs than the team that wins. Do you think it got devalued? Do you think the game is now a game?
Well,
not the game?
I can actually give you 1, maybe 2 examples of all time this. To be fair, Mark put this question out there, and we know what happened at the end of 22 and how it worked out, with our loss to Georgia in the playoff. And I'll say this. I've been an Ohio State fan since probably 1986. I'm so old I saw Harbaugh play. Actually, that was the first game I watched, was the guarantee game. I still think Matt France is going to make that field goal. To this day, I still think Matt France is going to make that field goal, but that's neither here nor there. The point being is that had Ohio State, which I think that they would have beaten TCU. I don't know if you guys think that they would have beaten TCU. I'm pretty confident we would have beaten TCU if the field goal goes in the Georgia Dome. And that might have been close. We don't blow them out the way Georgia does, but I think we beat them by at least 2 to 3 touchdowns. And that being said, I just say this as a traditional Ohio State fan, I would have felt really conflicted that year. And that would have been a team that would have won a national championship, because I still would have known in the back of my mind, we lost what I view as the most important game of the season. Yeah. So I guess I'm saying I'm kind of a traditionalist that way. That's kind of the point I was trying to illustrate.
Right.
What do you think, TJ? Do you think the game turns into a game now?
I don't. Right. I don't personally.
No, I don't think it will.
So here's the thing, right? So a lot of people are saying, well, if Michigan and Ohio State play in the playoffs, or if they play again in the Big Ten championship, it's going to diminish the game. But in my opinion, what people are not recognizing is, one, It's the last game of the year. It's going to have consequences. It's going to have home field consequences. It's going to have Big Ten championship consequences. And we're all going to want all that. Okay.
That's right.
Also, it doesn't matter if it's a freaking exhibition game in August. We do not want Ohio State to win, and you do not want us to win, period. Like that game is going to matter no matter what. And there's going to be, because they will make sure, especially Fox, that is the last game of the season because it means so much. And that game, a lot's going to ride on that game. I mean, even with the new additions to the Big Ten, Ohio State and Michigan are still going to be alphas in the conference. And they're going to be deciding factors. Even if, let's just say one of our teams, I won't even say a specific team, but one of our teams is having maybe a down year. Okay. The other team is going to be in the running for the Big Ten championship or potentially home field advantage. And I'm going to tell you right now, when the college football playoff kicks off, home field advantage is going to matter.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to want to play as, no, I'm sorry, just real quick. You're going to want to play as little games as possible. You don't want to have to take the long road if you don't have to take the long road. That's all I was going to say.
Right.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I get everything you're saying, but the bottom line is it will, I mean, outside of, the 1 year that we talked about, usually it's all or nothing. I mean, basically it's one of the teams, the season is ruined and it's over. I mean, they may go to New Year's Six game, but it's over. Basically the season's over. And for the other one, they're moving on. They're going to win the Big Ten, and then they're going to go on to presumably the playoffs. So, that all or nothing feeling is going to go away. You kind of have this safety net, with both teams are going to be in the top 12 most years, I would guess. Right. So that means they're both in. It's just a question of seeding and getting a bye. And I kind of mentioned earlier, there are weird scenarios where you can kind of be the number 3 team in the Big Ten, maybe get a home field game and sort of get a bye because you don't have to play the Big Ten title game. So, just sort of considering that, I personally would rather go further in the playoffs, even if it meant losing the Ohio State game.
Well, I get your point. I get your point. That's why I was for both teams being on opposite divisions. That's why I never wanted both teams to be on, you know what I mean? Or no, be on the same division, I should say, of the same side of the Big Ten and not be on opposite sides of the division. If you remember, I think the first year of what was it, Leaders and Legends, I think we were on opposite sides, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So you almost could have had a rematch in the Big Ten title game, I think, at one time. So, yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but, with college football morphing into what it is, which is basically the NFL junior, I mean, let's just say it. I mean, it's basically becoming college football not as we know it, or as we grew up with it. Because basically you've expanded the playoff just like the NFL is. You're compensating the players just like the NFL is. And then on top of that, you have a transfer portal, which is AKA your free agency. So you've just done the things that the NFL is doing, but people still want to call it college football. So, I mean, but
it's a semi-pro. That's what it is. It's a semi-pro developmental league now. I mean, it's always been a developmental league in the sense, but yeah, I mean, it's that's what I mean. But I'll say this though: the college tradition, the nostalgia, it's still there, man. It's not gone. It's just the game has evolved. And let's also be honest, Dr. Buckeye.
Sure.
A lot of the things that's happening right now has been kind of happening for the past couple decades. Players have been getting paid for a long time.
Sure. And I guess this is what people are saying. They're just doing the not so quiet part out loud. Right. I guess what people are saying. But what I would also say is that, and I understand about compensating the players, but whenever I ask people that were pro compensating the players, you know what my next question was? How are you going to do it? Show me your plan. Yeah. And guess what? They got quiet real quick because they had no plan, know. And guess what you're seeing right now? It's working out half-ass. I mean, you've got people suing the NCAA. You look at this Florida situation. I mean, there's no structure to this. In the NFL, what do you have, man? You have agents.
Right.
You have a salary cap. You have a structure. You have no structure for this. So before you get ahead of your skis and say, let's compensate the players, why don't you show me what your plan is or what your structure is before you get out in front of this? Isn't
Right.
that a
Well,
fair question?
No, I mean that's the question, but the problem is
Yeah.
that there's no leadership. There's no NCAA is not giving any
That's
leadership,
right.
and the schools themselves don't want any money taken out of their pocket. It took so you saw the ruling today, right? Or you saw the settlement today?
I did
Did you
not
see-
know.
Oh, okay. So
I
this
did
actually goes exactly into what we're talking about. So the NCAA has allowed starting to, they're going to implement it in 2025. Schools can now pay players up to 20 million out of $20 million out of their revenue, hard cap.
Wow.
So schools are now allowed to pay players. But what we don't know is that strictly revenue sports or is that going to go into non-revenue sports? That hasn't been, the details haven't come out yet on that. And then we also don't know, like, is Michigan or Ohio State or any school, how much is going to go to basketball, how much is going to go to football?
Right.
What does that mean? And then look, here's the next natural step. The next natural step is a CBA. That's coming.
Mhm.
A players union.
Yep.
That's coming. So that's
Sure.
where it's going. But unfortunately, and then also the NCAA has to pay $2.7 billion in damages to players all the way back to 2016.
No,
So
I
just
heard that they
happened
were.
today.
Yeah, I heard that they were going to essentially have to make them employees. That the players were basically going to have to just become employees, of the
Mhm.
university. I mean, listen, I guess I had a feeling that it was coming to this, and I think that once the money factor came in for the coaches and the bowl games and all of that, it was going to. I mean, let's be fair. I mean, nobody likes to use the term greed, but greed works on every different level, no matter which level you are on the income structure. It's just that there's levels to it, because everybody's eventually going to come asking for their money.
Right. Right.
I mean,
Yeah, and like this $20 million right now, that's going to go up very quickly because like the NFL, for example, has almost a 50-50 revenue share.
yeah.
This is like not even. This would be 10% of Michigan's revenue for the athletic department.
See, the tough part about it is, though, is what about these? You've heard stories where the players get signed for this dough, this NIL dough. They get there and then they back
Right.
out of it and then they leave and then they go somewhere else. And it's
Right.
just, it's crazy.
Right.
I don't
So
know.
apparently, there's going to be a mechanism in place. They didn't go into detail on whatever this mechanism is that's going to limit third-party NIL deals going forward. And then they're also going to, and let me tell you this right now, I don't have faith in this because the NCAA can't regulate shit.
Right.
They're going to make it so there's no, so teams basically have to play within the $20 million salary cap. But how the hell are they going to monitor that?
That's right. I mean, a rule's only good if it's enforceable, and it's
Yeah.
monitored and it's enforced. And I to be fair, I know we can bash the NCAA up and down, up and down, up and down, but the presidents and the athletic directors also got
Right.
to be culpable with this too.
100%. Yeah, because
yeah,
no, go on. No, I was gonna say they were dragging their feet because they didn't want any money taken from their revenue. They didn't
right.
want to do the right thing, So we have a mess now, and now the fans have to deal with it.
yeah.
It's
I-
terrible.
Just one little side
Go
note
ahead,
here.
go ahead.
All employees, their salary it has to be sort of officially disclosed. Like, if you're a professor at the University of Michigan,
Mhm.
your salary is known. If you're Jim Harbaugh, your salary is known.
That's right.
So all of this is going to be sort of officially published, at least for public universities as well. Just to kind of there will be some level of paper trail, and it'll be totally transparent.
Right. I mean, well, but remember what the rule was originally for, though, guys. It was basically name, image, and likeness. And I knew it was just a way to get us to pay the players. I said
Right.
that to Mark once the California law was passed. But my feeling was on it is that okay? If you want to do name, image, and likeness, and because the thought was that they could make some names off of their jerseys being sold, and
Right.
I remember I heard that years ago. They said these athletes would say, "I'm seeing all these guys around college campuses wearing these jerseys, all these kids wearing these jerseys, and I'm not getting any compensation for it. Where's my money?" And I get it. Um, at the same time, if you don't have a structure, if you don't have a system on how to dispense the money, and then the other thing about it is that where it's really gone off the rails with this is with high school, because now high school players have agents. I don't know if you guys have been hearing about that,
Right.
but high school players have representation, and
Yeah.
it's basically a lot of these schools. I'm not going to say names, Miami, but I sorry, that was a joke. Shot at Hurricanes fans. I don't think we got a lot of them in the chat though, but I digress. But A&M, exactly. I mean, Saban said the quiet part out loud about Fisher. He basically accused Fisher of buying a recruiting class. And
Lane Kiffin did the same thing. He said, "What is their salary cap?" Because they basically spent $20 million the year they got Walter Nolan, who was the number 1 player, number like 2 or 3 player in the nation.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I understand. Like you guys, what was your thing last year? That 1 year more fund.
Yeah,
one more year fund.
And this year was those who stay. It was those who stay this year.
Okay. And I kind of get that because as far as the structure you guys had, because I think it was basically designed for those guys that may only be like a 3rd or 4th round pick. If you can get them some money that's somewhat comparable to an NFL deal and get them to stay 1 more year, I can understand where you're coming from on that, but I think for it being used to buy recruits and basically programs being, remember the SMU thing that ESPN did in, the Pony Express thing they did on the 30 for 30.
Yes.
Where they basically showed what SMU was doing during the 80s. Well, guess what? Right. That's above board nowadays.
Right. Imagine being an SMU fan. Shit, man.
They you get the death penalty for that.
They nuked you, dude. Yeah, I know. That's terrible.
It's crazy.
All right. Yeah. One final note, or at least for me, on because originally we kind of started this conversation talking about.
No, that's okay. I'm sorry.
We were talking about the 12 team, 16 team, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I had the solution, but I didn't have the voice of college football at the time. So, from a year ago or 18 months ago, it would have been cool if the Michigan-Ohio State game kind of ended or was kind of pulled up. Hear me out. Still the last game of the year, the last scheduled game of the year, but then there was a kind of 2-game flex schedule after that. So maybe it gets pulled to about mid-November. There's a 2 games flex schedule after that. Every single college team would have those 2 games. They would know those 2 games in advance, whether it would be at home or on the road. If you were a top 16 team, you would be paired up with another top 16 team, and you would have to do 1 game at home, 1 game away with a different top 16 team. So that way it was sort of a, kind of forcing teams that were playing lesser opponents to play against top 16 teams. All that happens, and then you pick a Final Four after that. You pick the Final Four teams. So that way it's a pseudo playoffs, but at the same time, you have some level of, it's sort of the regular season too. All tickets are sold in advance. If you're a team like Michigan State, let's say, that didn't make the playoffs, you still get paired up with another team, but that team's comparable to you. So let's say you're the 70th ranked team, you play against the 65 ranked team and the 80th ranked team as your 2 pairings. That's what I would have gone with, and I think it would have worked without being too disruptive to all these other things that are going on. The Michigan-Ohio State game would have the weight that it has, or it had up till now. I think the Michigan-Ohio State game in the future is going to get devalued because of the way the playoffs have evolved. So anyway, I just want to kind of put that out there.
No, that's an interesting thought. I've been one of those that has been, and I guess I could be in a minority on this, and I'm as big a football fan as well, I put myself out there as anybody, but I was one of those that I was never a fan of the NFL expanding their schedule. And
Right.
I was you know what? Maybe I lived in an NFL schedule that was 16 games for forever, and
Mhm.
I was okay with that. I was
Me too.
okay with that. I didn't need a 17th game. You know what I mean? So my argument is the more games in college football never. I mean, because what are we going to get to here? Like 18 games, 19 games of college football or something like that? And I'm thinking to myself that, if you're going to go this way with an expanded playoff, could you make the case to scale back the regular season? Which I don't think they do, but
No, if anything, they're gonna make the non-conference 2 games and expand the conference play
yeah,
because
I mean,
there's gonna be more teams. Like I think what we're gonna see, and I think you're gonna see this in both leagues, 18 games in the NFL and 18 games in college football. That's what I think we're gonna. And when I say 18 games, I don't mean regular season for college football. I do for the NFL, but for college football, it'll be 18 total. Total games, because right now it's 12 games, 9 conference, 3, well, unless you're the SEC, and then 3 non-conference. You're going to see that go to 10 and 2, and
Yeah.
then you'll see the playoffs, because we all know this too. The playoffs is going to go to 16 teams. Like they're at
Right.
14 now. They're going to expand it to 16.
sure.
Like
Sure.
that's an open secret. So
Well, I mean, is an 18-game schedule, is that pro player safety or is that anti-player safety?
well,
Can you
guess
guys help
what?
me out?
Yeah.
Can you help? Can
That
you,
shit's
can you
out,
help?
dude. That is the biggest crock of shit. Like they don't even like on the NFL level, they don't even enforce mouth guards, but yet they're worried about concussions
mean,
and shit. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
like,
okay, so here's my
Yeah.
solution to that. Why
Go
not
ahead.
just have it? Maybe not for kick. There may be certain positions like kickers where they have to play every
Yeah.
game, but why not just limit most players to only playing in 16 or 17 games in the regular season? So in other words, if you've got a quarterback, your backup quarterback
No.
has to play for a game or
no
two.
way. No. Hell no. That would be the worst thing ever. Especially, what do you think about fans buying tickets? Now they
Well,
can't see the star quarterback.
I mean, if you care about player safety,
Well,
that's
player safety. I'm gonna be honest. Player
that's
safety is a
what
bunch
you
of
do, right?
bullshit.
So-
They say that so they don't get sued. They don't really give a shit. They just want to make money.
Well,
They
yeah,
don't,
I
they're
mean,
only
everything comes
appeasing-
back to the dollar. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
like
know.
they don't like at the NFL level, they do not enforce mouth guards. Like that is basic 101 concussion protocol, and they don't even enforce that. But like here's the thing too about college. Now that players are making revenue sharing, and
Yeah.
and as we discussed, CBAs are coming and player unions are coming. Guess what? More games are coming because that's more money and more revenue.
One idea on it, and Colin Cowherd, I think, put this out on his podcast, and the NFL is probably going to have to go to it, is probably 2 buys. Probably
Yes.
2 buys. I think you're
100%.
going to have to go to 2 buys. If you're going to expand the schedule, then I think you have to put the bye weeks in there. You know what I mean? To kind of help out a little bit, But
Yeah.
again, you're going to stretch out the season. Let's have March football here, I guess. And I guess a lot of people would be okay with March football, but yeah, I think
Well-
that's what you would have to kind of do to kind of help if you're going to expand it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, I mean, look at the
Or-
NFL. I mean, they're trying to expand the Super Bowl to President's Day, so then it's like a holiday the next day, which is mid-February or whatever. So I mean, yeah, you're definitely. I mean, the NFL's going 18 at some point. They're definitely
Yeah.
they will do another bye. You're going to need to see the same thing in college football, and I think that's where you get your player safety discussion in, an extra bye week for the kids. But let's also be honest too. What is school? Because now that these kids are now employees, and now that these kids are legitimately making it's now openly, the open secret's open. They're making profit for the school, and now they're going to be playing more and more games. Like they're not even student athletes, really.
Well,
the tutors are
but-
taking
but-
notes, not them.
But what's the average NFL career though? 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah, right.
That leaves a long part of the rest of your life, my friend, that you're gonna have
Right.
to figure out on what you want to do with your life.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. No, I agree,
So-
man. I mean, it's just
so-
it's a dirty situation.
Yeah. What does the NFL stand for? Not for long.
Right.
So.
But all right, Dr. Buckeye.
It was a pleasure, talking to Mark
was, man.
Rogers' largest fan base. I mean, at least we got a chance to hash out the issues with college football. At least we tried to.
Absolutely,
So,
man.
you guys
No, thanks for calling in, dude. Honestly, great conversation. Don't be a stranger, man.
Yeah, it was great. Let's Dr. Buckeye, go ahead and nominate somebody else, and we'll have a little debate sometime. Maybe 2-on-2 debate. I'd be all for that. Let's go for it.
Hey,
let's
by the way,
little debate.
I just want to say, Mark has put out there on his show, because I reviewed the 2019 Clemson game. You guys mentioned the 2016 Ohio State game. I'm all for it. Anytime you guys want to review that game, go over that game, I'd be happy to talk about, Wilton Spate throwing the ball to the other team, but
There we go. All right. I have an idea.
Let's talk about last year's game. Let's talk about the end of last year's game. Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm just happy we stayed within 6 points on your field to the greatest team in the history of college football. Maybe it was a moral victory that we kept the game that close, with the worst quarterback we've had since Todd Beckman.
And you were driving their Honda Accord, right? So I got it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you'd have to say that's the worst quarterback we've had in a while, right? He's not better than Stroud or Haskins or Fields.
Okay, I'll give you that. But he's still a damn good quarterback. All right, let me ask you this before we let you go.
Sure. Yeah, shoot.
Your quarterbacks this season, do you think they are better than Kyle McCord?
I think they're a slight upgrade.
I don't know.
I said slight. I said slight.
I don't know.
I said slight. I said slight. I said slight, and I didn't say major.
I agree with you, Dr. Buckeye, but you're comparing Kyle McCord last year, and I would assume that Kyle McCord will get better this year. Right. I would not be surprised if Kyle McCord outperforms both the OSU quarterback room as well as the Michigan quarterback room in 2024.
Well, he's going to be throwing the ball a lot at Syracuse because they're going to be behind on a lot of games.
Yeah.
So I bet his stats are going to be a lot of empty calories in games, where they're probably down by 2 or 3 touchdowns and they have no choice but to throw the ball. Mm-hmm. But my one thing about McCord, and I will say against you guys, he had an awful first quarter. The last interception wasn't on him. He actually made some good throws in the second and third quarter against you guys, but it was the awful start that cost him. And that was McCord's whole season. It was good quarter, bad quarter, good quarter, bad quarter, good half, bad half. And he always had that one, why did you make that throw? And that was basically what cost us,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, it's fair. Well, how about this, man? Right. Don't be a stranger. You can call in, and this is every Thursday, so
Okay.
And definitely during the season, man. We're gonna be. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, especially come November, gentlemen. I'm sure we'll be talking.
Hell yeah! All right, man. Well, have a good night.
Take care. Yep. See you guys. Go Buckeye.
All right. We have our last caller, Ferris, and it is Keith. Did you wanna say anything before we bring Keith on?
No, let's bring Keith on. I gotta
fair enough.
Decompress from Dr. Buckeye there. So
hey Keith, what's up, man? Can you hear us?
Hey, wash Ferris' mouth out with soap there.
Yeah. Hey, can you get us off speaker?
Sure. Wait a minute. I'm on a Bluetooth right now.
All right, you sound muffled.
Yeah, and I don't know what's going to happen if I disconnect. So let me make my quick points, and then
okay,
and then we'll all call it a night.
Okay,
all
cool.
Right, Keith. Thanks for holding on, Keith. By the way, thank you. You were there for a while.
Yeah. First point I want to make real quick is we need a throw first quarterback against Texas. Texas last year had one of the worst pass defense defenses in FBS.
Okay.
They were Mark corrected me one night. He said I was giving them too much credit, saying they were 35th and 50th. He said they were 70th and 130th in total pass offense and pass efficiency. I don't know what order that was in. So the Texas D-line, they lost 2 first-round draft picks. And if it wasn't Texas, I would feel good about it. But Texas gets elite talent from the Southwest every year, and they reload as well as anybody. In fact, I believe they're top 4th or 5th in all-time pro draft picks.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
So,
where they're
yeah.
ranked on that. But I mean, obviously they're extremely talented. I mean, look, they lost a lot in the draft, though. They lost their starting wide receivers. They lost their starting defensive tackle duo, which was the strength of their defense last year. Terrence Brooks has transferred to Illinois, who's actually a pretty good corner, a solid corner. I think, all right, so if you want the throw first quarterback, Davis Warren's obviously the quarterback. You should be champion right now. You should be championing him. We'll see. I mean, we're gonna get a taste. I have a feeling week 1, both quarterbacks are gonna get a chance, and then after the week 1, they're gonna decide between Davis Warren and Alex Orji. I'm personally of the position Jack Tuttle is not going to be the starting quarterback. I know there's a portion of the fan base who thinks he will. I don't believe Jack Tuttle is. If you want a Cade McNamara, I don't even know if Jack Tuttle is that. I think people just think Jack Tuttle is better than he is because he was once a starter at Indiana and he shows leadership characteristics. But if you look at his numbers, there is nothing to be excited or optimistic about. We have to hope for Davis Warren and Alex Orji to take the mantle and be the quarterback to lead us to victory against Texas.
Yeah, in fact, I'm championing Warren and Tuttle. I think both are fairly mobile. Neither one has the arm and efficiency of JJ, so it's going to be a step down there. But I think both are quite an upgrade from Orji and Donegal.
I mean, I like Davis Warren's upside. I mean, Ferris, what do you think?
Magic number is, what did we say? 62?
62. Yeah, 62 for Orji.
I believe that Alex Orji, in fact, can throw a forward pass. I think he can get to 62%, and I think he's going to end up being the quarterback. There's too much upside, I think, in his ability to run, and people are seeing what Milroe did last year, and they think that Orji can replicate on the upside, best case scenario can replicate that. If he can get to 62%, then he's got the job. It'll be very interesting because it is the second game of the season. So they're going to have to make that call. Early on, we had some discussion on a 2-quarterback system. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be Alex Orji, and I think they're just going to ride him and hope that he can get to 62% and hope they can get to 5.5 yards a carry against Texas, regardless of, Michigan's going to play their game.
Right.
They're not going to change their game because of the weaknesses of perceived weaknesses of Texas, and I think, using the smash philosophy, offensive line of Michigan, get us to over 5 yards a carry, and let's see what happens with a reasonable passing game that is about maybe 35 to 40% of the time they pass, 65% of the time they run. I think that's what's going to end up happening. That might be enough to win, might not be enough to win. Like I said, it's going to be very close to a coin flip 50-50 game with Texas, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. We just disagree there, Ferris. I just go back in history and I see the Rick Leach's, Steve Smith's, Devin Gardner, and Denard Robinson. Those teams were always one step behind the big guys. And when we have a throw-first quarterback, I think that opens up the running game in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but I would say Orgy brings a different dimension to Michigan's offense that we have not had since a Denard Robinson. And then when you have an elite defense with an elite offensive line and a strong run game, and I would argue that Alex Orgy has potentially a higher upside throwing the ball than a Denard Robinson. Obviously, Orgy's not as dynamic of a runner as a Denard Robinson, because that's like about as elite as it gets. Next to a Lamar Jackson or something. But
there you go.
Yeah, but look, here's the good news, Keith. The best quarterback's going to start, whether it's Davis Warren or Alex Orgy. They are not going to put a guy out there who is not their best opportunity to win. I mean, Sherrone Moore has to have a good first year. Like this isn't a building year. This is a reload year. So I think, listen, we're going to know a lot more during fall camp. Now, Michigan's very tight with news that leaks from camp, but of course things will leak. We will hear some intel, and we'll get a better idea. It is the question of the summer: who is Michigan's quarterback? Right now, I'm Team Orgy. I think Ferris, your Team Orgy, and John's Team Orgy. So Keith, we're putting you down for what? Davis Warren or Jack Tuttle?
I would say Tuttle.
Okay, that's fair. All right, we'll remember that. We're tallying the vote.
My little final point here on Tuttle is, I have more optimism on Tuttle than you, TJ. But
okay.
I would say it would be hilarious if, for whatever reason, somehow Tuttle ended up having to win the game against Ohio State as a seventh-year. Former 4-star, but we're seventh year in. I mean, Tuttle is. I think he's closer to 30 than he is 20 at this point, right? So, so I mean, he. I'd love to see him beat Ohio State. Just a part of me beat Ohio State and then just go straight into collecting Social Security checks.
Yeah. So good. And I trust Moore too. So I think he is going to make the best decision. I don't know if there's a right decision, because I agree with you, Ferris. I'm afraid Kyle McCord's going to outperform the Ohio State and Michigan quarterback rooms.
Yeah, and to be fair here, he could do that, and Orgy could still get to 62%. Just to put it in perspective, JJ was at 72%. So we're certainly talking about some regression from JJ, regardless.
Yeah.
So
and when you say 62%, we also have to put a cap on the interceptions. I mean, the interceptions have to be single digits at least, at the most. It has to be single digits interceptions.
Yeah, that's a really good point. JJ had 4 interceptions last year. 3 of them were in one game. So out of the 15 games, in 13 of them, he did not throw an interception. So yes, you are right about that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to make this one last point, because every time you talk about Dusty May, I get real excited.
Hell yeah.
As I said before, on Mark Rogers looked a little disappointed when I slipped in a little bit of good news on Michigan basketball, but our transfer class is rated at 4 5-stars and 2 4-stars. We've got 2 7-footers coming in. I think we could get to the Sweet 16 again with Dusty May and all that talent that's coming in. And these 7-footers are both averaging like 13, 14 points a game. So they're not just big guys, that have a presence and it'll get you a few points a game. They're real scorers. They're very talented 7-footers.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. He brought in a hell of a class. The roster is ready to win, compete for the Big Ten this season. I mean, Dusty May has said that they're coming to win. Like, this is not a rebuild year for him. The roster has a high level of talent. I'm hoping for like an 8 seed in March Madness, whatever region it's in. And a good run this year. I think we're going to be very competitive. I think what we went through with Juwan Howard last year, having the worst season in men's basketball history, the program has been revived, and Dusty May looks like an extremely good hire. I'm very optimistic about the season, and I think a lot of us can, I think a lot of people tuned out the basketball program, but I will say I think this season Michigan basketball is going to be something to pay attention to.
There are a lot of Ward Manual haters out there, but just remember, that he did deliver on the basketball coach. At least that's what it looks like right now. Early days, but he did. So,
yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
So that's good. I think it's just great. Everything I'm hearing about Michigan basketball is great, and I tuned out, even though I went to more games this year than I ever have, because tickets were cheap. They were like $2 and $3. Yeah. So I went to more games this year than I ever did, but I was really turned out because they were such a lousy product on the floor last year. But I turned back in as soon as we got our first 2 big recruits, and when it got to be 6 big recruits, I'm all in now on Michigan basketball.
Yeah. I agree. And what's good too is Dusty May is very open, very transparent about NIL. And even his assistant coaches, if anyone watches the interview, Sam Webb does, which I highly recommend. Sam Webb does a great job interviewing these guys. And, I'm optimistic, man. I mean, Dusty May honestly seems like a modern head coach who's aware of the climate in college basketball. And he is just built for it, man. Like, and he's a hard worker. I'm extremely optimistic about it. We got to obviously see it happen. It looks good. It looks promising. But just like football, man, we got to wait till the ball is tipped off, man.
Boy, but I get more. I look forward to that first kickoff and tip. More this year than I have in a bunch of years.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I'd say since Juwan's second year, the second year is when he made the Elite Eight, right?
Right.
So the first year was the COVID year, which he did a pretty good job. Second year was a very good run, and then it's been downhill since. Poor roster construction. Poor schematics. We don't even really got to get into it because it's the past now. But I mean, we have a lot to look forward to. And I'll tell you this too, Keith. I haven't discussed this with John yet or Ferris, but I'm sure we will have some basketball content. During the season, we'll figure something out to make sure we get a little basketball coverage on the channel.
Cool. I want to finish this with this one point. I'm all in on this show that you guys are running now, or that you're running, TJ. It's really, really a quality show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're looking to build it, Keith. I mean, and I'm gonna be honest too, man. It's callers like you. It's the commenters like we have in the community right now. Our moderators. Shout out to you guys. The community. Without us, without you guys, like this isn't a thing. And like we got excellent callers, even the Ohio State guys, Dr. Buckeye. I mean, the beginning he was giving us, a little bit of shit, but he was an excellent caller. I mean, we're extremely optimistic, and I think we would all agree, me, Ferris, and John, that the future's bright. And like I mentioned last show, there's more coming. We're going to be rolling out more this summer. We got some ideas, and the channel's only going to get better from here.
Yep, got a good one. Keep it up. Go blue.
Go blue, man. Thank you.
Go blue. Yeah, just another note about our channel. We are less than 50 now away from getting to 7,000. Our growth rate is much faster than Ohio State's channel. But we haven't caught up to them yet. I think we're still 1,000 behind. Our first goal is to get to 7,000. we're really, really close. So just get your friends to please subscribe, like, and share. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, Keith. Well, have a good night, man. All right.
All right. Have a great one, guys.
All right. Thank you. All right, Ferris. We did it, man. How was it?
This was great. I mean, we got, what is this? 2 hours and 6 minutes is what I see.
Yep.
And it just flew by. This is so much fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Hope it is for listeners as well. We have so much to talk about. I don't know if I'm going to stay up all night, kind of reviewing all this, the ESPN article, what it means, all that kind of stuff. There are so many things going on. So.
Absolutely, man. I mean, Jude, imagine the regular season. I mean, like how crazy it's going to get then, man. We're going to have so much to talk about, it'll be epic. But all right, Ferris, we've gone a while. I know you probably got a lot to do tomorrow. So tell everybody where they can find you, and we'll say our goodbyes.
Yeah. So Smash the Numbers is the series that I do within this channel. So you will see recordings that I do. They're sort of standalone recordings, which I do a premiere with. Lots of content here. I mean, obviously, my last one I did had to do with the college football 25 video game and why Michigan fans should care. This next one is going to it's going to be about this topic. It's going to be about sort of the nuts and bolts of the numbers behind the news that we have today about athletes being paid, how that arrangement's going to work, the $20 million cap, I guess I can call it that at this point.
Yeah.
And what that means for Michigan. So I will do sort of a numbers take on it based on what I understand. It was awesome to be one of the first shows to air right after this news came out. But we still don't, there's still a lot to learn about this. So we're going to kind of dig into that over the next couple of days.
Absolutely, man. I mean, pretty epic timing for that to get released right before the show. But so I am your host. You can find me at Ronin Sports Talk. I'm on Twitter. Always talking football, talking recruiting. Anything breaking, we're there. Just trying to build the community there as well, so we can get more engagement. Promoting the show. If you want to keep up with the show, you can either follow me, John, or Ferris. We're constantly promoting this. And then next week, Tuesday, you have mine and John's show, and Ferris will probably be joining us. Usually, he's normally there joining us on the various topics at 8:00. We got the Michigan Wolverines live, and then next week Thursday, we're here, man. And next week I'm going to have Mac from the Team Rivalry show with Cliff and Mac. So he'll be joining me next week. I don't quite know the topic yet. I'm sure something will be breaking by then. And then lastly, the last thing I want to touch on is we are now available on all podcast players. So you can get us, our Tuesday show is going to be uploaded. If you could please subscribe, give us a 5-star rating. We're trying to build that more, really trying to build up the community, really trying to build up our entire brand, to be honest with you. We're trying to get a larger footprint in this space. And audio is our next frontier. So you could really help us out, because, some people, they want to contribute to the community, whether they're a moderator, and maybe you don't have a $2 or $5 for a super chat or what have you. But what you can do, you can subscribe our work, share it, and also give us a good rating on our podcast. And that's greatly appreciated from us. We couldn't ask for anything more from you guys. And I know, not only do I and John and as well as Ferris appreciate that, but Mark as well. So is there any final thoughts, Ferris, before we get out of here?
No, I mean, go blue. As we kind of sort of prepare for Tuesday, everybody read the article from ESPN. That would be great. I'll post it right now. It'll be kind of interesting to see everyone's take on it. This is a pretty major piece of news for us.
Yeah.
So, you know, and for the University of Michigan and for all of college sports. So, you know, this is big.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely a game changer for the state of college football. And it's only going to lead to more to come. So, you know, until next time, until next Tuesday is when I'll see everybody. Next Thursday will be the next show. It's Go Blue, and have a good night, everybody.